Hello, this is how to install the Linux operating system Arch Linux without using the archinstall installer program. We go to archinux.org. I searched on Google for Arch Linux. This is the homepage of the project. Then in the main menu, download. And we're taken to the BitTorrent downloads. I'm going to install a BitTorrent client named QBitTorrent, and I'm going to download this file. So sudo apt install qBitTorrent. My host operating system is Ubuntu 2504. Says that the application is already installed. Let's click on the magnet link, for instance. Says that it will open with the default protocol handler for magnet. Open link. There's just one file and the download has started. The download is going to be pretty fast because it's well seeded. The download has finished. I have copied the ISO file archlinux 2025.10.01.iso to the directory where Virt Manager will know how to pick it up. Let's delete the torrent with everything. Let's exit qBitTorrent. And let's start creating the virtual machine. So I'm using Virtual Machine Manager, which uses QEMU and KVM. File, new virtual machine, ISO, browse. I pressed on the refresh volume list button. Arch Linux is here, choose. It has detected automatically the correct virtual machine template to use, Arch Linux. 10 gigabytes of random access memory, 8 vCPUs. Make this 250 gigabytes NVMe. Arch Linux. Probably we don't need to customize anything, but let's make sure. BIOS. CPUs, memory. VirtIO for the virtual hard disk, the best storage, the fastest storage possible. The ISO put in the DVD ROM drive. Network interface card, the fastest possible, which is VirtIO. So I didn't need to change anything in the settings of the virtual machine. The template for Arch Linux is okay. Begin installation. So let's see what it tries. 15 seconds to boot, the default, which is Arch Linux install medium. So it's booting in live CD mode from the ISO file. And it has logged in as the user root. So at this point, I usually use archinstall, the text user interface installer wizard, but this time we're trying to follow the official way of installing Arch Linux, which is by copy-pasting many command lines. So let's see how that works. I should navigate to wiki.archlinux.org/title/installation guide. It's available both here as this URL in archlinux.org/download, but also in this message when I am finished booting the ISO. It says to install Arch Linux, follow the installation guide, and it takes you to the exact same URL. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how we're going to be able to copy-paste commands from the web browser towards the virtual machine. Okay, so we've downloaded the ISO. We did not verify the signature. We've booted the live environment. I don't need to set any keyboard layout or fonts. I'm using English United States. Ensure your network interface is listed and enabled. Let's see what that is. Let's make a bit of room to see both the documentation and work at the same time. So work being the Arch Linux virtual machine on the left half of the screen, and the documentation being the web browser on the right half of the screen. So it wants to see if I'm already connected to the internet, which I guess I am. So enp1s0. Scale display never, like this, to make the fonts a bit larger. Let's see what IP link does. I don't have a wireless, I'm on a virtual machine. DHCP should work out of the box for Ethernet, which it does. Let's ping. And it works. Ctrl C to stop pinging. Update the system clock. I don't know why it tries to do that. Time date CTL. Okay. Next up, let's find out the virtual hard disk. What device does it have? So lsblk, it's probably /dev/vda. So we should ignore /dev/loop0. Okay, it doesn't say /vda. Probably the documentation doesn't talk about QEMU virtual machines. We'll need a root directory. We didn't boot in UEFI mode, we booted in BIOS mode. Maybe, just maybe, we should reboot and try UEFI with GPT, because this is the modern one, even though it's a virtual machine, and virtual machines keep working better with BIOS, not UEFI. So let's actually do that. Force off, yes, virtual machine, delete, delete, yes, file, new virtual machine, ISO, browse, Arch Linux, choose volume, forward, 10, 8, 250, customize, and switch to UEFI. And this should be it. It could not boot. Access is denied. it failed to boot. Maybe UEFI is enabled, but also secure boot is enabled. Says that I should press any key to enter the boot manager menu. I'll do that. And then I want to disable secure boot, device manager, secure boot configuration, press the enter key, and attempt secure boot, disable it. Says that the computer will need to restart for this setting to be applied. F10, Y, and let's exit. Escape once, twice, and reset. Let's make sure that the virtual hard disk, the CD. So I've set the ISO. I probably need to restart the computer, but also edit the boot menu, because this virtualization software, Virt Manager, when you start a virtual machine for the first time, it's going to use an ISO inside the DVD-ROM drive and the virtual hard disk, but at the very first reboot, it's going to automatically remove the ISO from the DVD drive. So for this, we'll need to edit the virtual machine in order not to recreate the virtual machine. So we want to be able to boot both from the virtual hard disk and from the DVD-ROM drive. And for now, it should give more priority to the DVD-ROM drive in the boot order. Okay, the virtual machine is stopped or not. Let's look again at the settings. ISO in the CD-ROM and boot order correct. Start. Okay, Arch Linux install medium. Unfortunately, QEMU Virt Manager UEFI defaults to secure boot enabled, which is really wrong. I have never kept secure boot enabled on any hardware computer, and certainly in no virtual machines. Okay, so we were finished booting, logged in as the user root. Now we should continue with the installation guide from the Arch Wiki. So we didn't need to configure anything because the DHCP Ethernet has been configured correctly. The network interface card ENP1S0. And we can just start installing. So it says fdisk -L. We should ignore the /dev/loop because it contains loop in the name. So the device is /dev/VDA, correct? And in here it says that I should go fdisk /dev/VDA. Okay. I'm using UEFI. I'm going to use the GPT GUID partition table on /dev/VDA. I'm going to need a /boot, a swap partition, and a /. We're not going to use /EFI. Once the partitions have been created, how do we create the partitions? /dev/root _ partition. At this point, we need to follow two wiki pages. So one says that you should use a partitioning tool such as fdisk. So I have the wiki page for fdisk, and then we need the wiki page for installation to see how many partitions do we need to create and what types should they have. Okay, so the fdisk wiki page says that I should start with fdisk/space/dev/vda, which I did. And now I create a partition table. To create a new partition table, clear all current partition data, type G. Let's do that. Created a new GPT GUID partition table. And then we want to create partitions with the command N. Partition number. Default is 1. Probably correct. And it talks about sectors. And I want to create a /boot partition with 1 GB in size. Okay, and in here it says that there's a first sector and a last sector. The first one is correct. The last sector, we should use relative sizes. We want 1 GB, so plus, which means relative to the first sector, 1 and uppercase G. So plus 2G is 2 GB. Press enter. So that was, I did not specify the type. Between primary or extended, not about that. Okay, so says that it uses the Linux file system type for the first partition that we created, so we want to actually change it. Press T to change the type of a partition. E. Partition 1, correct. And we want EFI system partition. ESP, which is UEFI. We'll try this. So it says that there's an alias, which is UEFI for the partition type, UEFI. Change type of partition from Linux file system to EFI system. Sounds okay. Back to where we were. So we need to create a swap partition, which means we want to create a new partition, N, partition 2. First sector is where the first partition has left. And we want it to be for gigabytes, so plus 4G. Correct. And we want to change its type to Linux swap. How do we do that? T 2 and the alias is swap. Next up, the rest of the virtual hard disk needs to be one partition for slash. So says n 3, correct first sector. So the default is the almost the last sector. So I'm going to keep the default. .87 versus 859. So press enter. Okay, this probably needs to remain type Linux file system. So we've created three partitions with the correct sizes and with the correct partition types. Next up, we'll print changes with P. So says that a GPT partition table is going to be created. 3 partitions, EFI system, Linux swap and Linux file system, correct sizes. And this is it. Write the changes and exit W. Okay. Next up, it says that we want to format the partitions. Okay, and we start with the third partition. Make a fas ext4 /dev/ what it says in here, vda3. Okay, let's create the swap dev and the second one, vda2, which is 4 GB in size. Next up, we have a EFI system partition and we want to format it using makefas.fat. Makefas fat -f32 /dev/vda1. So makefas.fat minus uppercase f32 /dev/vda1 1 GB. Next up, we need to mount these 3 partitions to /mnt. Let's make sure that the directory exists. Seems to exist. Mount. Make dir. So says the root one. So that's /dev/vda3 to /mnt. So this is the slash partition mounted as /mnt. Then the /boot mount ---- make directory /dev/vda1/mnt/boot. Mount make dir dev vda1 mnt boot. Next up, we activate the swap. Swap on /dev vda2 4 gigabytes. Next up says that we should look at the mirrors. So let's do the mirror list for Pacman and then Packstrap. Let's see if we have the nano text editor. We do. etc pacman-d mirror list. Let's see which one is the first in the list. I do not know which one of the mirrors is the CDN that's the default one, such that it exists in other operating systems. The first in the list, geo.mirror.pkgbuild.com, seems to not have a country, so maybe it is a reverse DNS or something such that it will use the best mirror available. If not, then maybe the one from the kernel.org. Depending on which of these mirrors you select, the download speed will vary drastically when you're installing packages using Pacman. Okay, the list looks okay to me in the absence of a CDN that's preferred by the operating system. Next up, it says that we're going to install similar to a chroot, similar to depstrap, some packages using Pacman, the most important being the base one. We're also going to install the Linux kernel and firmware. And then if we want, we can add additional software to this command line. Let's do that. So packstrap minus uppercase K, where, what, let's see what other things are popular. Consider installing fscheck. Linux firmware we did. Networking, nano. Oh. I guess nano is part of base, right? Okay, and once we're inside the chroot, we're going to install additional software. Linux firmware Intel, NVIDIA, and Atheros. So let's see what's being installed. Get text, compression algorithms, glibc, Pacman, time zone data, HTTPS certificates, systemd. Okay. Next, we want to generate the file system tab, so /etc/fs tab. We can choose between UUID or labels. So we're going to go with UUIDs. The command line is going to be this one. So genfs tab minus uppercase U / mnt etc and fs tab. So it will generate an fs tab content of the file /etc /fs tab, write it to standard output, and then it's going to append it to /etc /fs tab that's inside the /mnt directory. Okay, says that we should check the result. UUID is VDA3 is /, VDA1 is boot vfat, VDA2 is swap. Looks perfect. And it's the moment to enter the chroot. arch_chroot /mnt. Okay. We should set the time zone. Let's do that. ln, this is a symbolic link, something that already exists. Okay, I managed to find it correctly. So /America /New York. Local time. Okay. Generate /etc /adj time. System to hardware clock. We should set up an NTP server, network time protocol server, such as systemd timesyncd. How do we do that? Let's see if this thing is available. I'm going to guess it's configured already correctly, installed, and runs. Fallback NTP servers, the one from the Arch Linux. Looks okay. Localization. We need to edit /etc/locale.gen. Okay. Where can it be? English US is not commented out. So English US, UTF-8, UTF-8. Says uncomment the UTF-8 locales that you will be using. I'm not going to use anything else but the English United States. Looks okay. Save yes. Then generate them. Locale gen. create locale.conf cat/etc/locale.conf. There's no such file. /etc/locale.conf. Okay, let's see how we can type everything correctly. lang, this part. en us utf -8. Trailing new line. So lang uppercase equals en underscore us dot utf -8. Control X, Y. You can set the console keyboard layout. I don't want to do that. Network configuration. Create a host name. There's no such file. /etc/hostname. Arch Linux. Yes. Must not start with a minus. Can contain minus. Creating a new init ramfs is usually not required because make init cpio was run on installation of the kernel package with packstrap. I don't have LVM, system encryption, RAID. I did not modify make init cpio.conf, so I don't need to recreate. Okay, setting password for the user root. Next up, choose and install a Linux-capable bootloader. Yeah, we could go with systemd because it supports UEFI and it's probably going to be the future, but most people will install Arch Linux with grub, I'm going to guess. So let's go with grub. FE system partition, aka ESP. Which is /boot in my case. Okay, so the wiki page for grub starts with a number of nodes, and then the first actual instruction is that we need to install the packages grub. How do we do that? I searched on Google for Arch Wiki Rosetta, and takes us to this page where various Linux operating system families have various command line package installers. So for the family Arch, there's Pacman. For the family Debian Ubuntu, there's apt. So in order to install packages, just pacman space minus uppercase S and then the name of the package, similar to apt install. Okay. So install the packages grub and fe boot mgr. grub fe boot mgr. Then follow the steps below to install grub to your disk. Mount the EFI system partition. So ESP is going to be /mnt/boot. /boot is already mounted, type vfat /dev/vda1. Okay, so /boot is instead of ESP. We're going to use UEFI 64-bit. So inside /boot/EFI/grub, the EFI application will be copied, and the grub modules will be in /boot/grub, and then the architecture for EFI. We need to run this thing. We use autocomplete. x86_64 minus EFI. EFI directory /boot. Loader. Okay. So grub -install space -- target equals x86_64 minus EFI space -EFI minus directory equals ESP, which is /boot -- bootloader minus ID equals grub. No errors reporting finished. Okay, then the instructions talk about various other cases that do not affect us. Talks about secure boot, chapter 2.2, about BIOS, not UEFI, but with GPT GUID partition table on the main virtual disk, which is not the case. And the configuration. After we have installed, so we have run the command line grub -install, there's a huge warning here, says remember to generate the main configuration file, otherwise we will not be able to boot. So grub was installed, but there's no configuration for it. Okay, now we're at chapter generate the main configuration file. Says that the file /boot/grub/grub.cfg must exist. Let's see if it exists. It should not. No such file. And we're in a special place, which is we have booted installer in live CD, which rooted. We haven't done any additional configuration to /etc/default/grub or to /etc/grub.d. So the only thing that we need to do is to just generate the configuration file. So this is the command line that we're after. Grub make config -o /boot grub.cfg. So grub make config -o /boot/grub/grub.cfg. Go. Okay, it has found what we wanted, which is the Linux kernel for the future installation of Arch Linux, the one from the virtual disk. I have read the rest of the wiki page for GRUB, so it seems that we're okay. Hopefully we didn't mess up anything. Next up, we want to reboot. Exit the root environment by typing exit or Control D. And then we're going to reboot. This is the scary moment. Control D. We're not inside the root any longer. Let's do the unmounting. umount -r/mnt. Reboot. So we're in live CD mode. There's a virtual hard disk that was mounted at /mnt, which rooted inside with the base Arch Linux operating system installed using pack strap. We have installed additional software. We have configured various things, the time zone, the locale, bootloader GRUB. So the FS tab. So when we reboot, GRUB, the bootloader should work, should find the Linux kernel and the init RAM disk for Arch Linux. Then the FS tab should be okay. We have enough software in there. We have Midnight Commander, we have Nano, Pacman, the networking, the HTTP client. So here goes nothing. It's not okay. We need to shut down. Doesn't work. Force off. Yes. Okay, that was because we have edited manually the CD-ROM ISO. We have put the ISO back into the CD-ROM after Port Manager has already removed it. So we need to do removing the ISO from the DVD drive and also remove from the boot order. Like this. Start. Okay, GRUB, Arch Linux. Everything seems okay until now, and it booted instantly. We have a Linux user, just one account, root. We have its password. And we'll want to continue installing software. We actually want to install KDE Plasma, the X11 session, and some other things. So let's go through the steps. First of all, make sure we have networking. And we don't. That's a bad thing. We didn't install a network management software. So the problem was here. They didn't add to the example the minimum that people will actually need, which is if Nano is not part of base, you definitely need Nano, so Nano should be here. If DHCP client is not part of the base, if I know systemd is not part of the base networking, then a network manager, and probably it should just select network manager by default. So the example command line should work for 99% of people that actually want to install Arch Linux, and 99% of people that want to install Arch Linux are actually going to go for a desktop installation, not for a bare minimum server that doesn't even have the capability of connecting to the internet. I'm going to try to find the incantations such that I can set the network interface card manually. So I searched arch wiki IP add address. The command line should be something like this. Hopefully, if I have enough binary packages installed. So IP address add, then the IP address, which is this guy, or an IP address from this range. It's probably /24, and then the device is ENP1 S0. ENP1 S0. But there's also this broadcast plus. I'm not sure if it's required, but let's do that. Broadcast plus. So IP ADDR add 192. Let's see. And now we have an IPv4 address for the network interface card. And we need a gateway and a routing table. Okay, so the routing table says IP route show. Nothing to show. And then we're going to want to edit. IP route add prefix via address dev interface. So interface is this guy. Via address, that's probably the IPv4 address of the DHCP server that's built into Vert Manager. I searched on Google Vert-manager DHCP server, and this seems to be indeed the case. So there's a DHCP server 192.168.122.1, which is the DHCP server, the gateway, and then DHCP leases from the IPv4 address ending in .2 until the last one, so /24 CIDR. Okay, so that would be this thing. And it says that prefix is probably default. Okay, so IP route add prefix default via address, the address of the gateway, dev. It's probably the same as for IP ADDR add command line. Let's try our luck. IP route add default via. Okay, let's see what happens. Invalid gateway. So the problem was that, hopefully, when I go IP space A, it says that ENP1S0 state down. So after I have added the IPv4 settings for the network interface card ENP1S0, I must set the link to up. So this wiki page is wrong. The correct incantation is one of these, then this, and then add the route, this guy. Hopefully. Let's see. So we want to look at the routes, IP route show. Seems okay. We want to ping. We don't have DNS resolution yet. So we have, let's see if we can ping an IPv4 address that we know exists. Yes. Yes. So we have networking, we have IPv4 networking, but we don't have DNS resolution. So on the wiki page with network configuration from Arch Linux, I search for DNS, says that we should either use /etc/hosts and put there the resolve for the first mirror that we have configured for Pacman, which is the one with the geo dot, or we use a DNS server. And for DNS server, we might use systemd resolve d. Let's see if the Pacman binary package is installed, and says that systemd resolve d is part of the systemd package, is installed by default, is part of the base binary package. And we can also see that it's running by default. Okay, but it's not configured, which is strange. Why wouldn't it have a basic configuration? Let's fallback DNS 9999. Yeah, it was just enabled but not running. I didn't see any logs, so I needed to start the systemd service systemctl start systemd minus resolve d. So this thing. We can see logs, we can see a process ID, we can see all sorts of activity. Active, inactive, dead versus active, active, running. We can ping google.com, and now we might be able to install binary packages using Pacman. So let's try an incantation. Okay, looks okay. Next up, I'm going to install a network manager, so a DHCP client and its manager, such that I do not have to do the incantations of IP address add, IP route add, etc. each time I reboot a computer. I'm going to choose network manager because this is what's supported by the desktop environment that I want, which is KDE Plasma. Let's see how we install this thing. Package network manager. Network manager. Okay, I have the package installed. Next up, the only thing that remains is to make sure that the service is running. Network manager. Okay, let's enable it. Enable -- now. Okay. Let's also make sure that, yeah, this should be it. Hopefully next time when we reboot the computer, we'll have networking. Let's continue with the installation instructions. So it says that we should have users and groups. We only have the root user. We would want the SSH server. Let's see if we have that. How do we search? Let's install the package OpenSSH. Let's make sure that the server is running, the system is service. It's named SSHD. We need to enable it. What am I doing? Enable -- now. At this point, we should be able to connect to the virtual machine, hopefully. Make sure the IP address continues to be ending with 28. This guy. If we connect via SSH, then we can copy paste commands from the Arch Linux wiki. The user root is not allowed to connect. Of course not. So let's fix that by adding the first user. So user management, user add. Let's do that. User add. -m means create home, correct? Additional groups, so it's added to the group of named administrator, which is going to be the name of the user. We also want to add it to the wheel, probably, to enable sudo. Bash is the default. I like that. And then just the username. User add -m uppercase G wheel, and then username administrator. Using password. So user add Archie and then password. Password administrator. Okay, let's see if we can connect with this user using SSH. Administrator at the correct IPv4 address. And everything works. Sudo not available yet. su-root asks the password of the user root. pacman -s. Let's see how we do sudo. Install the sudo package or the sudo -rs, the Rust rewritten version of sudo. Let's try that. Sudo. Proceed with installation. And we probably want to configure. That's vsudo with editor nano, correct? And we want to comment out the line about wheel. So this one. Uncomment to allow members of the group wheel to execute any command, but with password. Okay, Control D. And now I'm connected using SSH, using the user administrator. I want to become the super user using sudo. I enter the password of the user administrator, not the password of the user root, and everything works correctly. Got that. So we have added one user. It's a sudoer. I'm not sure what security is. Service management, we're using systemd. We have already a number of services installed. Network manager, OpenSSH server. Not sure what system maintenance is. Package management, we have pacman. We have configured the repositories. We have mirrors. We're booting. The hardware is configured correctly. We want graphical user interface. We want desktop environments. We want Xorg. Display manager. Okay, what's the order in which we do these things? So let's see KDE. There's a meta package called Plasma-meta. There's also a Plasma group. There's also Plasma desktop. I'm not using NVIDIA. Okay, but where do we start? What's the difference between Plasma-meta and Plasma? Plasma requires Aurora. What is that? Blue Devil. So there is KWin X11. I don't see KWin Wayland. Yeah, I have no clue what I'm doing. Package group. Let's go with Plasma-meta. So pacman minus uppercase S Plasma-meta. There are two providers for Qt6 multimedia backend, FFmpeg or GStreamer. One's FFmpeg, okay. There are a number of providers for jack. We're going to go with Pipewire jack. Wow. TTF font, we want all of the fonts possible, which is Noto, which is option 2. Proceed with installation. It's going to install Xorg .org because it depends, it uses KWin X11. Let's see some of the packages. Just KWin. There's a package for KWin. I see Wayland. So if there aren't separate packages for KWin X11 and KWin Wayland, then probably both KDE Plasma sessions for Wayland and X11 will be installed by default. So let's see what next. We might want some applications. Apart from what? Do we have console in here? Nope. That's strange. There's KWin and KWin X11, so this KWin is the Wayland compositor and KWin X11 is the X window manager. Okay. So we definitely need some applications. Not the full set of applications. A minimal set of applications. How do we do that? There's a separate package, Plasma X11 session. I will need it, so let's install it. And only now it installs KWin X11. Okay. We want SDDM. What's the name of the package? SDDM. Okay, Breeze GTK. Oh, I'm not sure exactly what I have installed. How could I have not installed this thing? It's up to date, so it's already installed. Okay, okay. Okay. And KDE GTK config. Already up to date. Looks okay. Let's see some applications. Wow. Wow. So let's install applications manually, if that's the way it must go. So Pacman minus uppercase S, Discover console, Crusader, Dolphin. Discovery is already installed, but Dolphin is not. I do not even know by heart the name of the packages. Arc was not pre-installed. No, there must be a meta package that I do not know the name of that will install a minimal desktop. Sixty members, 63 members in the repository extra. Just reinstalling packages. I'm not sure why it's editing the initram disk, initram file system. Okay. So do we have enough packages? Nope, we don't have Kate. There's bound to be a ton of packages that I don't know that should just be installed when I install the meta package for the KDE Plasma default installation. So not with all of the games, but with the minimum applications, the file manager, the PDF viewer, the printer support, scanner support, those things. So Ocular was not installed yet, which is wrong. I don't know. SM player, whatever else things we know we need. Key Info Center is already installed. That's a good thing, which means that Key Help Center and system settings are already installed. So we have a text editor, we have Kate, we have now no Emacs, no X, File Manager, Dolphin, Crusader, MC, Archiver, Arc, PDF Viewer, Ocular. We don't have yet a web browser. We have console. This should be it. Hopefully, by just reinstalling, everything will work correctly. Network Manager will be installed. We'll configure the network interface card correctly. SDDM will be installed. We'll start the two KDE Plasma sessions. The Wayland and the X11 one will be available in SDDM. We'll be able to log in. We have a user that's not a user root. That's a sudoer. We have console installed in case we didn't install enough KDE Plasma packages. At least we have a graphical user interface terminal, so we can install additional packages using Pacman from there. Okay, here goes nothing. Okay, so the timeout is 5 seconds, which is way too long. Should be maximum 1 second. Okay. So I don't see it wanting to boot in graphical desktop mode. So maybe we did not install xorg correctly or sddm correctly. Not sure why didn't sddm start. So maybe this is why we want to run sddm, but then the Wayland backend for sddm is experimental. It's enabled by default on Fedora KDE 43, not enabled by default in Arch Linux. It still runs on X11. So maybe we didn't install X11 correctly. Just installing the meta package plasma minus meta and plasma group is not enough, will not install X11. So probably we need to go here. Let's try to connect via SSH. Xorg. This guy. So we want to install the xorg minus server package. Plugman. So extra is enabled by default, core is enabled by default. That's great. We're installing xorg minus server, which has already been installed, so no need for that. So why didn't sddm start? How can we start it? So there's a systemd service for sddm that actually needs to be enabled. And I'm not sure where that thing is documented. Yeah, so this wiki page is lacking the fact that when you install the package sddm, the systemd service sddm is not enabled by default, which means that if you reboot, you've installed sddm for no reason, in vain, because it's not going to actually start. Let's fix that. Enable -- now. And sddm starts, but sddm starts with the wrong theme. So this is not the theme that's recommended by the upstream KDE Plasma from the KDE community. But at least we can connect. So we can select from the two KDE Plasma sessions. There's Wayland and X11. Wayland is the default. Again, sddm uses X11 to run, but the new sessions that are being created from sddm by default will use Wayland. Let's see how many packages did we install if things look as I would expect them to look. Okay, we have the welcome center. That's a good thing. Let's see if we have a web browser. We've installed Firefox, so we do. QML works, Qt works, KWin in Wayland works. The metadata about applications, the upstream information is probably not great. And Discover should not be used for installing Arch packages, if I remember correctly. If you want to install Arch packages, then please always use the command line pacman. as backends discover, has the Flatpak backend pre-installed from what I see, and the Flatpak remote FlatHub unfiltered is available. So when you go to the KDE application store discover and go to all applications, it probably only offers to install packages from FlatHub, not from Pacman, from the official repositories from the Arch Linux binary packages. Okay, but that's okay. Next. Next. Make a donation. This thing looks like a button and it's a group box, so something is not great with the theming. Okay, so let's see what we have. The start menu works, KDE Plasma main panel, web browser, file manager, App Store, system settings, about, says Arch Linux and Wayland. Let's see if we have help. I don't see K Help Center in here. Which is a bug, so let's fix that. Let's see if we have console. We do, it's not favorited. Let's favorite it. Start menu, console, sudo su, pacman -s, K Help Center. Yeah, so the fact that there's no Arch Linux meta package for installing KDE Plasma with the default configuration as recommended by the upstream, the KDE community. So the KDE community would always want the application K-Help Center to be pre-installed. Will always want to have the application console installed. Will always want to have the application Firefox installed. So why would you install a desktop manager, a desktop environment without a web browser? Why would you install SDDM without enabling SDDM? Okay, what else are we missing? We have kwrite. Okular is also part of the minimum list of packages that the KDE community wants to install. Assembler I have installed myself, which installed MPV. So a video player is missing, an audio player is missing. Let's see if the help center works. Probably. Yes, it works. Yeah, I like this system because I don't use a audio player and I use just Assembler for video playback. Next up, I'm going to do, because it's a virtual machine, I'm going to create a backup, and then I'm going to install the Remote Desktop Protocol Server xrdp. So let's do that. How do we shut down? Snapshots, so the snapshot button in the main toolbar of Virt Manager for Arch Linux, manage VM snapshots. Bottom left, create a new snapshot plus button. The snapshot is always called after install, and it's always internal. Okay, now we can start the virtual machine again. And I'm going to install the XRDP remote desktop protocol server, and that's about it. Next step would be to install the rest of the softwares that I use to do my configurations in KDE Plasma and decrease the SDDM timeout from 5 seconds to 1. This is my wiki page. This is how to install xrdp. As a prerequisite, you are going to need a X11 session. So we have one, which is the KDE Plasma X11 session. We can see it in here in the desktop manager. And we want to not be logged in graphically to the computer, to the Arch Linux installation. Okay. So these are the instructions. There are two AUR packages that we want to install. One is the xrdp one, and the other one is called xorg xrdp. Let's see if my instructions are just correct. Let's just speed run through them. Connect via SSH. Become super user. Nope. Let's install the packages for compiling. So we must not be the user root, and we're not, we're the user administrator. We're installing a AUR package manager. In this case, it's YAUI. There are others. It's using the Go programming language. We've installed Go at the first step in here where we went pacman space minus uppercase S and then Go. Let's see if this command line works. Yes, it does. Okay, we have the Plasma X11 session. We have exercised it from SDDM. We'll want to install these two packages. XRDP is option 1. AUR XRDP. We want to clean build everything, uppercase A. Diffs to show nothing, uppercase N. Remove dependencies after install, no. Install C check C Mocka. Okay. Yeah, you should not speed run through these instructions. You should actually read the instructions about YAY in the AUR and see how you install YAY correctly. And then read the instructions for the AUR for XRDP and the ones for xorg XRDP. And respect the instructions there. Also read the wiki page for XRDP. So it has built, but it has also run the test suite of the Git repository for XRDP. It's preparing the package, wants to know if I want to install both packages, the xrdp and the debug symbols. Yes. Next up, we'll need a second package, which is called xorg xrdp. I want to install just xorg xrdp, so option 1. Packages to clean build all, uppercase A, diffs to show nothing, uppercase N. Remove make dependencies default, option no. Import yes. Proceed with installation, yes. The GNU configure step, GNU make step. I'm not sure if make is using all of my CPU cores, so the virtual machine has 8 CPU threads, vCPUs. I'm not sure if all are used right now. It has created a package, it's going to install it. Okay, next up, it says that we're connected remotely and we're going to start the X server, so we want to have this file. No such file. Let's enable the systemd service. Edit the file /etc/x11 xwrapper.config. The content should be allowed underscore users space equals space anybody. I'm not the user root. So can we do sudo? Yeah, so we could do sudo nano. And then, unfortunately, xorg xrdp and xrdp doesn't figure that there's only one X11 session and to boot into it, we'll need to use something similar to xinit start X. Okay, the ~/.xinitrc file doesn't exist. Let's see if these executables continue to exist. I'm going to use autocompletion. So there's plasma minus dbus minus run session if needed, start plasma x11. So everything seems to be okay. We'll want to create the file ~/.xinitrc. The content should be this. So export desktop underscore session equals plasma /bin/plasma dbus run session if needed, start plasma x11, Control X to save, Y, and this should be it. Reboot. Now when the computer finishes starting, the xorg xrdp systemd service should be running, which means that we can connect remotely using the Microsoft Remote Desktop Protocol. We have the application FreeRDP installed. We're going to need a command line like this one. Let's do it with sound. So xFreeRDP, the name of the Remote Desktop Protocol client application, the name of the user on the Arch Linux machine, initial resolution, width and height. The IPv4 address of the machine ends with 28. The best features possible /video/RFX/GFX. the best speed possible network :LAN. We want the sound to be taken from the Arch Linux virtual machine played back on the host machine, and dynamic resolution for the resolution of the KDE Plasma. I trust the certificate. We see the login screen from xrdp, xrdp. Asks for the password of the user administrator. Starts KDE Plasma with the X11 session. So it actually starts an entire X11 server. And in here it has restored the previous KDE Plasma X11 session that I have opened. So I have some of the applications open that I have opened when I have logged in from the virtualization software from SDDM before rebooting. Okay. Everything seems to work correctly. The applications are here. The speed of the remote desktop protocol connection is impressive. Copy paste of text should work both directions. So it works from the virtual machine towards the host machine and back. We want Kate favorited. No welcome page, close and paste. So we could paste from the host machine towards the virtual machine, so from the remote desktop protocol client machine to the RDP server machine and back. So copy paste of text works. The remote desktop protocol connection is extremely snappy. The image quality is perfect. And I can resize the remote desktop protocol client window as I want. It will tell KDE Plasma to also resize. So the resolution right now in KDE Plasma is less than a quarter of 1080p. So 958 pixels by 510 pixels, which is this feature / dynamic resolution. So everything works correctly. This is how you install Arch Linux, the latest version, and KDE Plasma, and the remote desktop protocol server xrdp. If you're not using the Arch install text user interface installer wizard, but you're actually using the recommended way by the Arch Linux community to install the operating system Arch Linux, which is by following the wiki page with installation instructions. This page, wiki.archlinux.org/title/installation_guide. Thank you.